Dennis is known for his powerful voice and influence, but tragedy hit in late 2024, changing his life forever. Some of you may have heard that Dennis had a very serious injury. It happened on November 12th. As updates about his condition slowly come out, supporters are worried about his comeback, but also admire his bravery. How do you explain? So, either all of those 3 million black people are stupid, or it's not true. 1. There are only two possibilities. In a dramatic and tragic turn of events, the conservative radio giant Dennis Prager, who is known for his sharp analysis, commanding voice, and strong presence in public, was hit by disaster in November 2024. On the morning of November 12th, Dennis Prager had a sudden fall in his home. His head instantly hit the ground. And although there was no noticeable damage to his brain, the worst injury happened to his spinal cord. In fact, the spinal cord injury caused him to be paralyzed from the shoulders down, and he couldn't even breathe on his own. The fall had made worse the weakness in his spine. He had previously had a spinal fusion surgery, and that left his back in an unusually stiff condition. So when he fell and hit his head, the results were instant. After he became paralyzed, his farewell left fans in tears. The injury was mainly in the C3 and C4 vertebrae, an area that's connected with limb control, diaphragm function, and breathing. Although the spinal cord hadn't been cut, the damage was already serious. Now Dennis is paralyzed from the shoulders down, unable to move his arms or legs. Right after it happened, Dennis's condition was tough. He needed ventilator support because of breathing problems and was hospitalized in Los Angeles as doctors looked at his injury and started to stabilize him. In the days and weeks that followed, he went through 2 spinal surgeries that were meant to reduce pressure and restore structural strength, especially since the injury also threatened his breathing function. Once loved ones and fans learned about the fall, the response was instant. He was known for his strong and present voice, but is now stuck in silence. As soon as Dennis was stabilized, he was moved from emergency care into a rehabilitation center for severe spinal cord injuries. In these specialized facilities, each movement, each swallow, and each breath is good news. Early updates showed some of his progress. He started to eat and drink again. Those are milestones that seem small, but are important in independence and bodily control. According to medical teams, his injury was incomplete, which means that the cord was injured but not cut. That means that there is possible hope for partial recovery, although the path ahead is long and tough. In February 2025, PragerU's CEO Marissa Streit and his son David Prager shared updates to fans through video. They revealed that his body was hurt and his mind remained strong. His voice was still powerful, precise, and clear and became a focus of his rehabilitation story. But rehabilitation is really important. Weeks stretch into months of physical therapy, neuromuscular stimulation, strength training where possible, respiratory therapy, and psychological support. Every inch of gained-back function is fought for. There have been reports of setbacks, and his planned comeback would have to be delayed because of the unpredictable nature of his recovery. Despite this, there have been small signs of progress. Dennis was eventually taken off ventilator support, although he remained unable to move arms or legs last time we heard. His medical team continues to watch him closely, adjusting therapies and exploring other solutions. But while he goes through all of these, his inner circle has been in great health, especially his son David and PragerU's leadership. They have been helping him from the start and also give the public updates about his recovery. From the start, David has appeared often in videos, offering honest reflections on his father's condition, reading updates, and speaking directly to Dennis's audience. After his accident, Dennis expressed gratitude to his son, family, and close friends, saying, "My beloved son, David. I can't tell you how much he has done for me." Faith has been central to Prager's public image for decades, and in this crisis, it has become an anchor. His supporters continually emphasize prayer, purpose, and perseverance. In video updates, he often references his long-standing spiritual commitments and uses his own ordeal as a way to explore meaning. Even friends in the media world have rallied around him. People like Charlie Kirk visited Dennis Prager repeatedly in the hospital and have publicly talked about their support for him. Although he is still paralyzed, he is currently planning a major comeback on a radio show. Dennis Prager's long-awaited return to talk radio was first announced in March 2025 when Salem Media revealed he would take back the final hour of his former time slot starting June 3rd, but not the full 3-hour show. This made many people excited about his potential comeback. In a health update recording, Prager said, "My voice is practically normal. I intend to go back on radio," signaling his determination even as he remained deep in recovery. But the comeback didn't go as planned. In May, Radio Inc. reported that Salem officially canceled the June return date, revealing that there was a setback in Prager's rehab, and this farewell left fans in tears. Instead of returning to air, he would remain off air while his recovery continued, and The Charlie Kirk Show would remain in Prager's former time slot on many affiliates. The delay was also because of medical reasons. During the recovery process, Dennis battled pneumonia, causing some challenges to his recovery and extending his time under medical supervision. PragerU and his inner circle have revealed that this postponement isn't a form of giving up, but a way to recover before going back to work. Official updates have revealed that although Dennis Prager is limited by his paralysis, his intellectual and strategic contributions remain. He remains very active in PragerU's content planning and direction, working hard to recover enough strength for future broadcasting. The news of the delayed return felt like a bittersweet pause in what seemed to be a hopeful comeback. But now supporters know that they can look forward to when he will return. But while Dennis Prager was fighting the paralysis, he was at the center of a controversy. Far-right label controversy. Right after Dennis Prager's devastating injury was revealed, several media outlets called him a far-right figure. One of them was People magazine, which ran coverage, calling him a far-right talk show host. But this label quickly drew criticism from many supporters as they saw this as a smear rather than a way to describe him. For decades, Dennis has been a polarizing voice in American conservatism, openly opposing lockdowns during the COVID-19 pandemic, dismissing concerns about climate change, and affirming a strongly conservative worldview. He also runs a non-profit PragerU, which is often described by critics and media analysts as being aligned with hard-right or far-right ideology, especially when it comes to educational content and conservative messaging. But to many of Dennis's followers and allies, calling him far-right just after his paralysis is seen as being unfair, even reducing the public sympathy for his condition by making it political. The response is rooted in some debates over media labeling. Supporters argue that the far-right label is used too loosely as a negative tool and not an accurate description of him. But all of these can be traced back to the recurring criticism of PragerU material. Critics say the organization's content sometimes blends conservative views with religious messaging, challenges mainstream stories on race and history, and advances arguments aligned more closely with Christian nationalist or hard-right currents than moderate conservatism. There's no telling whether Dennis is actually in support of these personally or if this is just how the media is framing him. But just before this accident and controversy that caused Dennis Prager to give a farewell, leaving fans in tears, there was another shocking scandal. Just as you might have guessed, it involved PragerU's content in public schools. PragerU content in public schools. Before he became paralyzed in an accident that left fans in tears due to a farewell, Dennis Prager was stuck in a scandal that involved his non-profit PragerU. PragerU has been pushing its educational videos and materials, especially through PragerU Kids, into public school classrooms across the U.S. Some think that this is a good way to spread patriotic and pro-American perspectives among children and counter liberal bias, but others say that these materials might pretty much be propaganda, and they simplify or distort complex topics. Some videos show historical figures or events in ways that minimize the wrongs of slavery, colonialism, or discrimination. For example, an animated Christopher Columbus character asks students not to judge 15th century practices by modern standards. Another video about Frederick Douglass allegedly defends the founding fathers' positions on slavery. Such portrayals are seen as whitewashing or glossing over moral complexity. When these videos were revealed, PragerU and Dennis were under fire for these. It became worse when some of the videos were found downplaying or casting doubt on aspects of climate change, sometimes even using misleading framing or controversy despite the scientific evidence. This caused a major scandal for Dennis Prager, especially since he is widely called a far-right figure by media and critics. It seemed like he was excusing the educational content since they were all made under his leadership of the NGO. Many are raising alarms that some PragerU videos leave out important content, and they present history in one way that favors their ideology and not all sides. In fact, this caused PragerU videos to be pulled from classrooms after parents and administrators complained. But just a few months before that, Dennis Prager was being widely criticized again, this time because of something he had said directly and not because of the NGO. Views on sexual harassment and women. In March 2023, Dennis Prager found himself in hot water, although not as bad as the fall that has caused him to be paralyzed. While fans leave in tears, he made some controversial statements about sexual harassment and how women see it. On the Dennis Prager show, he stated that women until the recent past did not see sexual harassment as trauma. He illustrated this with a personal example. His wife, when working as a waitress, was groped by a manager. She pushed him away and then carried on taking the next order as if nothing traumatic had happened. Dennis also said that there's a difference between knowing harassment is wrong and the way women used to treat these incidents in the past, even adding that many women didn't label these events as being deeply traumatic. He added that he had zero tolerance for sexual harassment, although that did nothing to help his risky situation, and that there's a shift in how society now understands and experiences these behaviors. As you can expect, the backlash was instant. Many people online said that Dennis is dismissing survivors' pain and added that trauma isn't always visible. Simply downplaying it because someone responded calmly to the situation doesn't make the problem invalid. Many have added that he didn't consider the social stigmas, lack of awareness, and internalized shame that many women who are victims face, as these have prevented them from speaking out or recognizing how bad the harassment is.